Hi there and welcome to episode 2 of homeworkingclub.com's Quick Tips. In this video I want to show you some really simple ways to get better at using your computer. All the time I receive emails from people who think they're being held back because they're not technical enough or just not good enough at navigating their way around their computer. Now I've worked providing IT support for over 20 years now and I see the same mistakes being made over and over again. And there are some really simple things that you can learn just to get a little bit better at managing your computer and navigating things a little bit faster. These are basic things, but even people who've been using computers for a very long time, I wouldn't be at all surprised if there are some of these things that you still aren't doing correctly. So I'm showing you on a Mac, I'm showing you on my Mac, but for everything I'm going to mention here, you can do exactly the same thing on Microsoft Windows. So the first thing I want to talk about is your desktop. So my tip number 1, sort out your desktop. Now this is the desktop of my Mac, and as you can see, I've only got 7 things sitting here. Now I've seen so many users' computers, so many people who I've helped out in the past, and their desktops are absolutely covered in files. Old Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, random folders, things they've downloaded ages ago. It's not a good thing. Now, the analogy I would like to use is, imagine that this desktop is an actual physical desktop, the desk where you do your work. Now, you wouldn't leave absolutely every document that's ever crossed your desk on your desk, because it would be chaos and it would stress you out. But so many people do exactly the same thing with their computer, which is just to save everything on their desktop, end up with a huge mess, and it's going to stress you out every single day. So set yourself up some folders in your documents underneath your documents folder, and leave your desktop just for stuff that you're going to need in a hurry. I've got things I'm working on right now. I've got my goals spreadsheet for the first quarter of this year. Now, if you want to learn about setting your goals for the year, I actually discussed that in my previous video, so I'll leave a link to that. But I've got pins that I'm going to be putting on Pinterest in the next couple of days. I've got stuff for a content refresh project which is going on right now. But just like a real life desk, the only things you should really have on the desktop of your Mac or your Windows PC are things that you want very quick access to and things that you might need in a hurry, things you're working on right now. If you're not, they should be filed away in nice folders elsewhere on your computer. So that's the first tip. The second tip I'm going to go on to is reaching inbox 0. So what does that mean? Well, I'm going to show you one of my email accounts. Well, actually several of my email accounts in Microsoft Apple Mail. As you will see, I have nothing in my inbox. Now that doesn't mean I get no emails. I get hundreds of emails every single day. But as you can also see, I've got lots of nice organised folders here. Now what I'm getting at with this is that if you don't need an email in your inbox, if you're not waiting to reply to it, if you're not actively working on it, it should not be in your inbox. It should be deleted, forgotten about forever, or it should be filed away in some nice organised folders. Now, so many people just leave everything in their inbox. Similarly to what I was saying about the desktop, you wouldn't simply leave every bit of mail that you ever got on your desk because it would stress you out and it would be chaotic. So what I would say is set yourself up some folders. You can do it whether you're using Gmail, whether you're using a Microsoft Outlook account. Whatever you're doing, set yourself up some folders, get into the habit of putting things in them. If you've got your emails synced to your phone, like most of us have nowadays, you can do it in a supermarket queue or while you're out for a walk. And try to keep that inbox as close to 0 as you can all of the time. Tip 3 is to master search. Now, both Windows and Mac computers nowadays have very effective search facilities. For example, if I want to find my cash flow documents, I can pull up a search and literally type cash flow. And there we go, there's my cash flow folder. So if you are filing everything away, as I've suggested, it's not difficult to find it where you filed it because you can use your search. I'm using Spotlight Search here on Mac. On Windows 10, you have a little box down here that you can use to search for anything on your computer. So get into the habit of using the search facility. It's just as handy as using a Google search, but it's searching what is on your own computer. So many people I come across don't know how easy it is to do this. And one extra little bonus tip, if you do happen to have a Mac, you can even do clever little things like using the search bar as a calculator. There we go. I've done 47 times 43 and I've got the result right there in the search. No need to open a calculator app, no need to go online. It's right there. So make use of the search. It's there for you. The next thing I'm going to talk about is keyboard shortcuts. Now, I think the use of keyboard shortcuts is the thing that really separates the beginners from the pros on computers. Now, it doesn't matter what you use keyboard shortcuts for, but what I would suggest if you don't use keyboard shortcuts routinely is just Google for an article. I'll find one and put it in the notes under this video of commonly used keyboard shortcuts. For example, you could use Command and S on a Mac or Control and S on a Windows PC to save your document, which is fantastic if you're working on something and you don't want to lose it. So often I've had people phone me up because some had a power cut or something and they've lost a document. If you just get used to using Command S, which I do probably at least every couple of minutes while I'm working on a document, you're saving it and it takes literally a second to do it. Silly little things like selecting text. If you hold down the Shift key and use your cursor keys, you can select text like that without needing to take your hands off the keyboard and touch your mouse. You can use Command and B to make things bold, Command and U to underline things, Command and Z to undo what you've just done, and Command and Y to redo it. Now, obviously, you're not going to learn all of these at once, but all you need to do is learn one at a time. So find yourself a good article out there on keyboard shortcuts and maybe challenge yourself to learn one a day or one a week. And you will find that you're very quickly navigating your computer much, much faster. So my next one is a follow-on from that, really, which is, and I've got in a bit of a muddle with numbering these tips, but I don't think it matters. Look stuff up. Now, something that I hear so much from people who call me for their help is, oh, I've been getting this error message come up every single time when I switch my computer on. Well, instead of putting up with it, go to Google and look it up. And 9 times out of 10, you'll find a really quick solution for fixing it. So don't just put up with things. If there's something that keeps bothering you on your computer, something that keeps slowing you down, keeps bugging you, just look it up. If you've got an error message, copy out the exact text in the error message, and you're going to find other people who've had that error, and you're probably going to find the solution to it as well. Tip 6, the penultimate tip I have for you today, is close things you are not using. Now, you'll see here on my Mac, and you'd have a menu bar, similar dock bar at the bottom of Windows. You don't need to be, if you're not actively using a program, you don't need to have it running. Here you can see I've got my photos running. Well, I don't need my photos open. I'm not using them at the moment. That can go. I'm not using Spotify right now, so that could be closed. As you'll see, I used a keyboard shortcut there, Command and Q to close those programs. Now, the reason for doing this is that all computers have a finite amount of RAM, memory, and you are going to be using some of that memory to run those programs that are just sitting there not being used. So if you're not using them, it's well worth getting into the habit of closing stuff that you're not using, because it's going to make your machine faster at doing the things you are trying to do with it. So that's tip 6. Tip 7 is the old IT cliche about rebooting your computer. Now, I'm not saying that you need to reboot that regularly, but I would certainly suggest that you shut your computer down and completely shut it down and start again at least once a week, maybe once a day. Macs, I would say, are slightly better at staying on for a long time. I often do just close the lid on mine and open it up the next day. But if your computer is just starting to be a little bit flaky, a little bit unreliable, there is a reason for the IT cliche of have you tried turning it off and turning it on again, because it often does sort out all kinds of problems. Programs leak memory, they end up losing more memory than using more memory than they should do. There are lots of good reasons to reboot. So get into the habit of regularly rebooting your machine. Don't just let it go to sleep and start working again. And especially if stuff just starts to become a little bit stuttery and unreliable, a lot of the time just shutting down and restarting will solve a whole load of things. So that concludes my 7 quick tips to make you better at using your computer. I'd be very curious to know how many of these that you already do routinely. So let me know in the comments. If you don't, look up some keyboard shortcuts. Try and get your inbox down to 0 emails and file them away as you go. Sort that desktop out. Get rid of the huge mess of old files that I'm sure is on the computer of quite a lot of people listening to this. And between these 7 things, as I've said, they're incredibly simple, but they will go a long way to making you faster and more efficient at navigating your computer and getting less stressed out by using it. I hope that was helpful. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening.